Hello, everyone. We want to welcome you to our webinar today. We are excited to have Alicia Bement and Chris Dew from E1 Solutions joining us today. They will be presenting on the easiest query and reporting tool ever. And before I pass it over to Alicia, I would like to remind you that this session is being recorded and will be posted to the on-demand webinar library on the Innovia website so that you can review it or share with anyone who is interested. If you have any questions, there's a question box on the side that you can use. We will have a Q&A session at the end so that they will be able to answer all your questions. So now I will pass it over to Alicia to kick off our presentation.
Great, thanks, Keith. Yeah, we are here obviously today to talk about PopDoc and where that fits in your Business Central reporting and querying needs. So let's jump right in. I only have probably about 3 or 4 slides to go over, and then I'll turn it over to my teammate Chris Dew, who will deep dive into PopDoc for us. So PopDoc, what it is it's made for the users and everyday doers, essentially. Those people that need to access their data in real time, that are using multiple different systems in a day. This isn't big data reporting or Power BI for those that are pondering or strategizing with big data sets. It's made for the end user, once again, the everyday doer. So you can access this data from any device and any application, for example, in app, Excel, or also embedded in other applications. So we'll talk about what we like to say the 5 pillars of PopDoc. The first being able to embed an actionable widget. So this just means that we can take data from one system and seed it in another system without needing to integrate it. So for example, if I want to see my Business Central invoices inside of D365 for sales, I could embed a widget to see this data. Or even flip-flop that scenario, being able to maybe see our CRM system data or Zendesk tickets inside of Business Central. Okay, so being able to see data from other systems without actually needing integration to move the data between the 2 systems. Next, having one interface for reporting for any system. When you talk about having to log into, 3, 4, 5 or more different systems in a day and taking the time to move from those to the next system, this is a really big time saver. So not to mention having to remember all those different passwords for all those different systems. So the big thing here I want to point out is that it gives you one interface to be able to filter and group in the same way across all those different systems. So the next one here, being able to report in a custom manner is obviously another really big thing. Just a quick example, if we have invoices inside Business Central and we want to see the credit card data related to that, that may be in a completely different system, we have the ability to join this data together into one list to view off of. And once again, all that same interface where it feels the same across all those different systems. Real-time data access, we can refresh this as many times as we want in a day. Okay, we're not storing this data in a data warehouse or a data lake anywhere. Once again, for those doers that need access immediately to that data without needing to worry about, limitations on how many times you can refresh the data in a day. And lastly, exception reporting. So this is often one we don't think of. Let's take an example of, let's say a help desk ticket, right? If you have a customer that has reached a certain status level, you want to be able to know this exception and tend to that customer right away. Or maybe even inside of Business Central, you want a list of your customers that are over their credit limit for the day. You could have that emailed to you once a day. Or maybe you're running low on inventory. You want a list of that every day so that way, you don't run out of product. So just some examples of ways that, you could report on those exceptions that you really need to know about. So those are the 5 pillars of PopDoc, and Chris will be showing that in a minute. I just have 2 slides left here. This is just super high level of some of the 60+ applications that PopDoc can connect to. We are adding these on a daily basis. So if you don't see a system or go to popdoc.com and see your system there, reach out to us and we can take a look at that as well. Like I said, we like to get those ideas of what people want to be able to see data from. All right, Chris, I'm going to pass it over to you and make you the presenter.
All right, sounds good.
So this is Chris Dew. Chris actually is our product manager of PopDoc. So he oversees everything that happens on the PopDoc side of things.
Yes, and I've been doing this for a long time. I've either worked for Microsoft or E1 for over 20 some years now. But I'm still passionate about providing really good access to data for our customers, and so that's what's really, really fun. So I'm going to take you on a little journey today. Again, it may be not where you're expecting to start, but I think if you stay paying attention, I think you're going to see some little tidbits in here that'll make your life just a little bit easier as you look at some options for reporting off of Business Central data. So I'm starting inside of not Business Central, but I'm going to start inside of Dynamics CRM, D365, whatever it's called today, customer engagement or something like that. But the first thing I'm going to show you is that without running an integration, I actually have all of my orders, or in this case, invoices, coming from my Business Central system, and they're embedded inside of here. Now, this is an important piece to understand. Alicia talked about it just a second ago, but I haven't had to run an integration that moved data or duplicated data between my Business Central system and CRM. This is a live look into my Business Central system. So if I create a new order, it'll show up in here immediately. So what we're looking at is just the orders for my Giordano's customer, or it's called an account out here. And I can see here's all those invoices that's inside here. One of the nice things about the interface of PopDoc is it's incredibly flexible. So if you don't want this many fields, you can get rid of some of them. So if we wanted to again get rid of I don't know, like customer name and customer number, they look pretty similar. There's not really a lot of extra information. So if we wanted to, we could say, hey, let's just get rid of the customer, we'll get rid of the customer name, because it's the same as the customer number. But then we can also show additional fields if we wanted. And so if we wanted to pull any of these available fields, I could simply just, pick a couple of these fields and could add them, and they'll show up in here as well. Now, some other really cool things that we have inside of here is really the filtering inside of here. So there's a couple different things we'll talk about. So for some people, again, we only have 31 invoices. That's not too many to scroll through. But sometimes people, maybe you pull up the Giordano's account and they're saying, hey, I got a question on, invoice 4029. So you go, okay, 4029. And so just that search, it'll basically go through everything inside of there, and we can see there's that specific invoice. But we can also add basically an unlimited amount of filters inside of here. So again, all those same fields are in here. So every field that's available on that list. And then what's really cool is that depending on the different types of data, you'll get some different options for, if it's part of a list, or again, if there's some date fields, you'll get different options like, I want everything from last week, or last quarter, or last month, or last year, or this year, this quarter. Those kinds of things, again, for people that are in the accounting or ERP space, I think are more valuable than necessarily creating, 2 or 3 different filters to say it has to be greater than this date and less than this date. It's way easier to say, just give me everything for this quarter or this month. So there's some really nice things in here is that once you save filters like that, you make a favorite, you now have the capability of quickly going back to that favorite without having to do that every time. So you can have an unlimited amount of these filters, right? If I just kept mashing on the button, I could add as many filters as I wanted. We have ands and ors, which is really nice to be able to, put some of those parameters in there to get the values that you need. Okay, so that's a lot of things, how easy it is to work with the data. Now, I can also do some really fun things like drag and drop grouping. And so what I've done now is simply by dragging the location up there, I now have subtotals by location. So you can see that it looks like the downtown location's doing pretty good. Schaumburg not as good, but the big money looks like the Willowbrook has been doing very well. Has been buying a lot of product from us lately. So it's very nice to be able to see just kind of a subtotal by this. I could keep dragging up, right? It doesn't make sense in here because we only have one customer, but if I had multiple customers, I could drag up and have a grouping, another level of grouping and see those kinds of things. So all those things are built in for you with PopDoc, which makes it really easy to access your data. But I want to show you some interesting things now. So let me just remove the grouping for just 1 second here. Okay. And what I want to show you is that we can also, I should not have, okay. Just 1 second, I messed up something with the grouping. I'm just gonna hit refresh on this real quick. Okay, I'll just pull up the list again. I think an important part to note, this is pulling live from your Business Central system, right? There's not a data warehouse or data lake or anything like that sitting in the middle. This is live data from whatever system you need, and in this case, it's Business Central. What I wanted to show you, however, was that we can also pull some additional details. So if it's something like if I wanted to pull all the line items that were ordered on the invoice, I could do that without even leaving this CRM system. I have a live look into the Business Central system and get that data. But I'm going to flip it up. Instead of doing that, I'm actually going to show you that I have connected to some shipping information, right? So it could be, this one happens to be the United States Postal Service. It could be FedEx, DHL, UPS, whatever you want it to be. And now I'm getting a live look into their system to see that this package, what path it took and that it got delivered. We'll just pull up a different one. Looks very similar. And there, this one has a couple more stops it looks like it took. So you can see that it's pulling that live data from those systems, which I think is incredibly powerful. But here's what I want to show you now, is that I didn't click on the details on purpose, because if I wanted to, I can actually right click and I can see that invoice right inside of Business Central. So if I have, my Business Central user, just a second here. Oh, somebody's been messing with my system. Okay. Well, sorry about that. Sometimes I have too many people in my demo system. So let me just log in this other way. What should have happened, and we'll find out in a second, is it basically should have opened that one record. And so you can see it right inside of Business Central. So it logs you in. Again, if you're already logged in, it basically is a pretty quick process, but it logs you right in and then brings you right to that record so that you can see, again, all the details that you want. Come on, Business Central. Okay, while I'm waiting for that, that should fire up shortly. I'll just show you a couple of other things inside of here. While I said this is one of the widgets that's basically pulling some Business Central data live, we can also do things like pull from other systems. So this happens to be pulling live from a help desk system called Zendesk. And so I'm pulling the help desk tickets for this company. So this is great because if I'm trying to sell them some additional product and I go and look at and see that there's 3 outstanding tickets, maybe I should make sure our company is fixing those things before we try to sell them something else. And the beautiful part is, again, we can interact with that data, kind of like on the Business Central side of things. I could do something similar where I could change the priority of this ticket, right? So if it looks like we have an issue, we're delivering at the wrong time, Maybe I say, hey, you know what, we need to bump that up. That needs to be a high priority. What's cool about this is this PopDoc is connected right into Zendisk's APIs, and so it has updated the ticket in their system and has refreshed with PopDoc, and now we're able to see that data. We can also see other data in various forms. I think this is kind of an important one. I feel like somebody is messing with things right now. My apologies here. It's like my Business Central is not working. I'll give it one more try here. All right. What I'll show you right now is that I can also pull data from other systems and display it with more of charts. So what I was going to show you previously was a pie chart pulling all of the Business Central line items that we had in the system, pulling that direct from there and just showing that, we sell this much pepperoni, this much sausage, this much cheese. But I'll flip it up while I'm waiting for Business Central to respond. In this case, is this one is coming from a live SQL database. And so just to kind of bring this whole point home, I want to show you that everything in PopDoc is indeed live. So if we look at the pepperoni, we got 101 pepperonis and 82 gluten-free pizzas. If we just go through my little demo scenario, and let's add, why don't we add 10 more pepperoni pizzas from Giordano's, and I don't know, five gluten-free pizzas. That's for my wife. She's loves loves the gluten-free. Okay, so now that basically is a custom little app that went into a SQL table, and I just wanted to show you that when I hit refresh on this, it's going to go from 101 to 111, and then 5 more have been added to the gluten-free. So that's how, again, how fast it can be if all your systems are running.
Hey, Chris, I'm
Yes.
trying on Business Central on my end too, and I can't seem to get into Business Central right now. I don't know if you want to move to the actual application interface. I'm having somebody else in the office as well test to see if they're able to get into Business Central, but I can't.
Yeah, I will. I'll do that. I may not be able to hit Business Central data, I guess, if
Right.
Business Central's down. Okay, that's the beauty of the cloud sometimes, right? Is sometimes we don't get the data that we want. So what I wanted to show you, if I go inside of this interface, and let me just hit the home button for a second here. When we log into the main web interface for PopDoc, you're going to see that it has a very similar interface in a second. To what we showed previously out there, right? Okay, yeah, that's my Business Central data. All right, why don't I just pull some data from, okay, I have a sample data connector. I'm just going to do that just to show you a couple things. Then I'm not reliant on Microsoft. But just to show you briefly inside of this interface right now is that it's much the same, right? We maybe had a few things that made it look and feel like the system that we're in. I was going to show you, if I could have logged in inside of Business Central, I was going to show you that we change it, and so that you can see all of your Business Central reports, but it has the same look and feel of Business Central inside of there. So some of the things that we've been working with our partners and customers on right now are some easier ways at getting at maybe some of your AR data or your AP data. We have a lot of people that, somebody calls in and says, hey, I paid for, with this check, I paid for everything, several invoices. So can you tell me, what it's been applied to? And so we've basically given them a nice little PopDoc view that they can search for that check number and then find all of the invoices that it's been paid, or flip it around, right? Maybe they say, hey, I got an invoice. I want to know what check or checks paid off that invoice. So those are the kinds of things that we're seeing some, custom reports that people are doing just to be very efficient. And again, I think the important part is being able to drill back to those records that you want to be able to see. Now, again, we can work with any type of data. So we obviously showed some Business Central data, but it could be CRM data. It could be stuff coming from other CRM type systems like Salesforce or Sugar CRM, or it could be data coming from an e-commerce type system, right? If you had data sitting inside of a Shopify or Magento or WooCommerce or any of those kinds of things, we can pull in data from all those other applications and give it to you in one interface. And like Alicia had said earlier, you don't necessarily need to log into those systems every day because you have one interface that you can bring them together. So what I want to show you now is that, again, you can quickly switch between lists inside of your connector. So if this was a Business Central connector that was was working today, I could quickly switch to maybe my inventory items or my sales invoices, or wherever that may be. So it's very nice. And again, I showed you like adding columns before. You just go ahead and check that. And now I have all the columns inside of the system. Here's where things get kind of interesting. And I should actually be able to go into my connector inside of here. We can add as many connectors as you want. You can see I have quite a few inside of there. This is where you would add like a Business Central one, for example, or if you're on maybe more of a classic nav system, we can pull that data in as well. And you can just quickly add these connectors. Now, a couple of really important ones to talk about is that you can actually access some legacy data that maybe sitting in a SQL Server on-premise, or even maybe some people choose to put it in an Azure SQL database out in the cloud. You can access that and pull that data in for some really cool reporting inside of PopDoc. Additionally, any kind of web service or REST API that's out there. So maybe you have something that's kind of specific to your industry that you're in. If you want to be able to pull that data in, you can bring those pieces of information in as well, as opposed to just the dedicated connectors that we have today. So we have a number of people that are in very niche markets. Like I had somebody that was really around kind of a remodeling area, and they had a specific CRM that was just for like the remodeling industry, and we were able to tap into their API and pull all the things that they needed right inside of there. But let's go ahead and look at a Business Central connector and kind of show you what some of the defaults are inside of there. Okay, if we look at this Business Central connector, you can see you can have as many groups as you like. And so these are some of the default ones we have, but if you were into manufacturing or different areas, maybe something more around field service or some of those other areas, you can add groups and pull in data from those other things. Or again, if you have a lot of third parties, right? Some other extensions that you've downloaded, and you want to kind of categorize the lists that are coming from those extensions, you can do that very easily. And this is some of the default lists. I think we have 60 to 80 of them in here as defaults. And so you can see there's a number of the default lists that we have. But you're not limited to that. This is where I think it's really powerful, is that basically anything inside of Business Central, we can choose to publish. So whether it, it's any of those pages or customized pages or ones even, like I said, coming from another extension, that's all available to publish it. Or again, if Innovia does some customizations, adds a few fields for you, all of those things are going to flow in, which I think is really, really powerful. Also, if someone writes some optimized queries, and we have done, we've done that a few times now with a few customers. We have a couple of them that are using it at a pretty large capacity. One of them actually has over 30 Business Central companies, and they have a number of reports that we actually need to pull across companies. And so we have the capability, I really wish I could show it to you, but basically we can quickly flip between companies. So if I wanted to say, hey, let's move to this company, and now it's pulling data from there. Or if I want to pull from both companies, it actually will tell me, it'll do that, and it'll tell me which company the data is coming from. So that's some really nice stuff. But if you have any custom queries, like I said, some optimized ones that we've built for customers or Innovia builds for you, you can pull any of those inside of here and again, report off of that data very, very easily. Now that's just some standard things. So that's really, really important. But what I want you to understand is you can now take it to the next level, because I can do things like join one of these lists with other pieces of data. So maybe a really simple example is I have the invoice and I want to pull in the line items as well. I can join those two lists together, even though they're not like a SQL table. I'm able to pull in those two web services, for example. Or I could actually join it with different different data entirely. So, right, we initially started the day inside of a CRM system. So if I wanted to join my customer inside of Business Central with my account inside of CRM, and let's say I had 10 custom fields on there that I needed, I can have one list and pull all of that information in. So there's a lot of power in being able to do that across multiple connectors. You can even do things like a compare list too, right? So this is a really common occurrence that we see is people between a CRM system and an ERP system, like Business Central, they want to know where's the customers? Do they exist in both systems? Do they only exist in the CRM? Do they only exist inside of Business Central? And so we can do a compare list again across multiple connectors. And again, once you do this, you can see this data inside of Business Central. You can see it inside of other systems as well. We can even merge data. Now, this is a really powerful one, right? If you maybe had some legacy data in another system, and you didn't, you're going to Business Central right now, but you don't really want to bring in, 20 years of data from a legacy system. You can actually have a list in there that pulls stuff from the new Business Central, and also from your legacy system. Maybe it's a SQL Server or something like that. You can pull those in and have one list that has all that data. So there's some real power in some of those areas there. Okay, I'm going to show you, I think maybe just one more thing inside of here, and then I think there's a couple of questions that have come in, and I'll answer any more questions that you may have as well.
Hey,
So,
Chris, and I seem to be
yeah.
back into Business Central now, so I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, there we go.
So
Business
I don't
Central
know if we were getting an update or something, everyone in our office, but we weren't the only two.
Okay. Well, let me do this. Let me just take a couple of seconds here then just to show you a couple things. This is what I was going to show you inside of here, is that we can basically access any of our Business Central data, or again, data from external systems right inside of Business Central. But if I just wanted to look at, some inventory item information, it's embedded right inside of here. And again, it's very flexible. I think an important point, maybe we kind of go over it very quickly sometimes, is that this is not a developer exercise, right? Everything we're giving you is, if you want to make a list available, it's simply is giving access to it. It's not, getting a developer involved to have to do a lot of these things. So there we go. Now you can see we're pulling inventory items from this. You can do the same kind of thing I showed earlier, right? If we wanted to do drag and drop grouping. So there's my different groupings. You can see we got our subtotaling and our other totals at the top. One other thing I did really want to show you, I think it is important, is that the export of this. And so I'm actually going to go back and do this very quickly. Here is, you can see I have it grouped, and so we just have, looks like 3 different groups. But if I hit export on this, it's going to send it to an Excel file. And most of the time is spent opening the Excel file because it was immediate, like we sent it down immediately. And the cool thing you'll see is that if you have grouping enabled on here, you will actually get all those groupings will come into Excel. And again, all your subtotals and everything like that. So I think a lot of you that are using ERP systems end up sending information to Excel to do some of these simple things like this. And this is a great way to get things started. Okay, thank you, Alicia, for the update there.
Yep.
All right, let me try just for fun. Let's see if this is working again. Okay, this is what should have been happening. I guess if Business Central was working, right? This should have been that drill back, and it should have been that fast to Business Central so we could see all the details that were on an invoice. All right, thank you, Alicia, for checking on our status of our internal Business Central system. Okay, what I wanted to show you though, the last thing, is that we can also schedule these reports to run. And so there's been a growing interest in this of not necessarily needing to log into a system, just saying, I want a report at a certain frequency. So if we break this down, I'm just pulling up the first one in the list. I can pick whatever connector it is. So again, this one happens to be pulling from a legacy GP system, but I think I have some other ones that are pulling from Business Central. Here we go. We'll look at the items out of stock. I'll just pull up that one. So you can see you can pick any list that you want from any connector, and I can send it to whatever email I want. I can pick the time of day. So this one's set to run just after noon every day. I can switch it though. If I wanted it to run Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I could have it run just 3 days a week. Or I could say, let's run it on the 1st of the month and the 15th. So this goes back to right at the beginning, what Alicia talked about is getting you the data you need to do your job, right? So if you only care about, if you're only ordering items 2 times a month and you just want to know, you want to have something on your desk right in the morning, send it at 7 in the morning and get your out of stock report. Get that again twice a month or once a week or whatever makes sense. And now you have an Excel file delivered to your email with just the items you know have met that criteria. So it gets you thinking that you can have schedules like this, and again, not even have to log into systems to get some data that you need to do your job. So that's a pretty exciting one that a lot of people are using. I think I'll wrap it up right there on just the PopDoc side of thing in general. And yeah, let's see if there's some questions that are out there. Okay, so one question. Okay, yep.
Oh, yeah.
The first question is asking if you drill back into PopDoc, I should say from PopDoc into Business Central to get the detail, is it respecting the Business Central security and permissions? Yeah, absolutely. What I just showed you, like when we went back to this, it's making you log in at that point in time, right? When you're logging into Business Central, you are going in as a specific user. So it is totally the rights that you have. Now, I think some of these things don't necessarily need a full license always, right? If you're not going to be, editing the invoice or whatever, if you just need to see some details, there's different levels of like a team user that you can use instead of a full BC user. But absolutely, it is something that it is obeying that security. Okay, there's another question. So they asked, is the purpose of this reporting tool to provide access to data without a Business Central named user? That's not necessarily true. We basically can make it that you have to be mapped directly back to a user to always use that credentials. There are some people though that do want to share data with a larger audience. So some people will embed, I showed it to you inside of a CRM system. We have other people putting that data inside of maybe like a portal, really, a shared website that they might just show the available invoices when the customer logs into the portal. So there are times where certainly some of this data does get shared to other organizations, or again, in the case of CRM, maybe that they want to share it with a larger group of the company that doesn't necessarily, you don't want them inside of the Business Central system, but you want them to maybe have a little bit of visibility into, you know, one specific area. So great questions. Okay, we got another question saying, can you build lists that pull from multiple tables simultaneously? Yeah, that was those custom lists I was talking about, so that you can actually pull data from, again, maybe it's invoices and orders, and maybe historical invoices, historical orders, quotes, those kinds of things. You could pull all those and have one list that had all that sales type data. Or again, we've done, there are times where it makes sense to really optimize this process. We had somebody that had 13,000 vendors. And so there was some things that we're getting a little bit slow. So we worked with a partner and built a custom query to pull in data from all the tables, and then they had a very fast view of that they needed inside of there. But yeah, you can work with multiple Business Central tables in one list, or even, again, outside of Business Central, you can pull in data from other systems as well. Okay, we got another question asking if there are different types of PopDoc users, like an author, and then those that are, you know, are just able to basically use the reports. There's different roles, so you can assign who needs to be an administrator versus, you know, somebody that just needs to view certain reports. There's a lot of granularity on the security of that, so you can choose which connectors. I think one of the things, you know, we've tied into multiple human resource and payroll systems, and so some of those are very sensitive. You want to make sure that you only have a very small group of people that should see that data, can actually access that. So yes, there are, you can basically assign different roles that, if you want, on what those users can do. So again, some people can create new lists and connectors, other people can just view the data. Okay, there was another question on, you know, does this only work with Business Central, or does it work with Nav as well? Yeah, it can work with Nav if you have some older versions of Nav. We can probably go back to, I think, right around 2013 was the first version that supported OData. And so that's really where PopDoc started on the nav side of things, is anything with that can handle OData. So I think that was 2013, maybe R2, that was able to pull OData. So anything there on up, we should be able to pull in that information. Okay, there's a question on, is this subscription only, or is it also perpetual? Alicia, were we going to talk about pricing today, or not?
Yeah, definitely. I can, it might actually just be easiest if you pull up the pricing on your screen instead of having to switch back over.
I was trying to make you do some work here.
I can still talk about it. So at popdoc.com, we do have all of our pricing listed. Basically, it comes down to, so it's per user per month. So it's $19 per user per month. If you want any of the widgets or any of the exception reporting that Chris had mentioned or that we had talked about earlier, we have 3 different buckets after that. So it's $59 per month and then $19 per user per month. For example, if you want that one application widget inside of that other system. So you can see the different tiers there, or if you want to take a look at that after we get off this call. It is only subscription pricing. We do not offer perpetual licensing.
Yep, correct. So that was your real question, but we kind of gave you a little bit more. All right, I'm not seeing any more come in. I don't know, Keith, if you want to wrap this up.
Yeah, thank you to Alicia and Chris. Okay, one more question actually.
Yep, I just saw it pop in.
It looks like just the scheduling is only with premium. Is this the case?
Yep. Yeah, just a clarification on that. Yeah, the scheduling is only part of the premium plan. So that's kind of the big thing that moves you up to the premium if you want that scheduling of reports to go out.
Great. Well, thanks again for your presentation today. I just wanted to let you know also that we've got a couple webinars coming up here at Innovia. In fact, there's one later today at 1 p.m. Central Time, 2 p.m. Eastern. We have how to auto post using flushing methods. That's a continuation of the Business Central for Manufacturing 101 series with Jenny and John from Innovia. And also on May the 5th, we have how to create a control add-in for Business Central. That's May 5th at 1 p.m. Central Time. And that's with one of Innovia's developers, Ross Botorf. So check out innovia.com/events. You can sign up for any of those. And we do want to also mention as well that we have a podcast going. If you haven't heard it already, it's called the Innovia Conversation. And our hosts, Steve and Jeff, have a wide variety of topics that they've covered over the past year, and they keep releasing them at about 2 episodes per month. So you can find them on any podcast platform that you use, or you can go to innovia.com/podcast to find it and some links to some of the popular ones as well. Also, the Innovia Customer Conference is now a virtual event on May the 21st. So if you have not registered already, we certainly encourage you to do so. Just head to innovia.com/conferences. You'll be able to register for the virtual event and get the agenda and a bunch of other information about what to expect with that. It's going to be a really cool event with a really high-tech presentation platform. And so it'll be something that you definitely will want to be part of. So I think that is all, and we want to thank you again for joining us, and we'll look forward to seeing you on the next Innovia webinar. Have a great day.